Hello, everyone. How's it going? Oh my goodness. We are live. Are we? Take that back. Actually, no. I am not live. It is just a pre-recording still, so not technically live, but it is a good time to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And hello, everybody. Thanks for coming in and listening to episode 204 of the leonlagrey podcast. Your host, as always, the host with the most, Leon Gray, giving you the bad, the good, the ugly, and the ugliest things of the internet. We're gonna give this off to you as always and see where we go from this. And that is gonna be the episode of today's show. So, episode 204, Value for Value Podcasting. And I'm going to give you a talk of what is up and what I think about the whole future of value to value podcasting and my future predicaments on podcasting itself. Because I think podcasting is one of those unique things that it is something that I've definitely cherished, as all of you already know. And I do think the way podcasting has gone from being from this small hobbyist niche to a very big thing now. And I'm gonna have to say though, one of the things it's been really cool, and for me, podcasting does impact people a lot of ways, and it's also cool because um, video is not going to be for everybody. And that's one thing I like is if you're not a fan of sitting down watching people talk, 10 minutes straight, but if you enjoy doing things actively, let's just say just listening to me on the go. And I think the beauty of podcasting, for the most part, is it's universal. Everyone has ears, so not everyone is, well, deaf, I should say, for a lack of better use of my English. Well, because the majority of people that has a phone basically can still listen to me via audio. So that's awesome. And now, if you are deaf by any means, by deaf ears, of course, you may not be able to hear me. But I'm sure many of you can go ahead and use subtitles to understand the show. Okay, so that's quite bad on its form right there too. And but I would say for the most part, if you are listening to me with ears wide open, no pun intended, that's something I can tell you is you guys have it really good, especially in the podcasting world. Podcasting scene hasn't been as big until now in 2024, and will continue to grow more spontaneously throughout the years. And recently enough, and what comes down to, for me, especially coming into the value of podcasting, and podcasting 2.0 has been here for some time now. I think for all of us as a community, we are definitely putting our voices out, getting heard, get everything out there to people that are interested in the subject line, the subject matter. If you're into technology, you're here in the right place, and that's why I am here to talk tech and talk amazing things of what is happening, especially new development, new scenes in the world of today. I think it's going to be really cool coming forward from now and then all the way through the new year of 2025. And before we start on our episode of today, we want to go ahead and give a few words of our sponsors. Yes, I have to go through it because, hey, I definitely want to give you the goodness and most nicest things I wanted to give you. And that way, if you're in a mood, let's say, to get, I don't know, glasses, games, books, all that, or chargers, I'm just gonna yeah, I just have to put it out there because you might be very interested. Because if you're looking to protect your eyes or whatever, and you know what, I'm sure not everybody is into accessories, but you know what, there are plenty of people that like it, and I will give you one word of my sponsors, which is Zennies. Zennies.com, the anti blue light glasses, wherever you are gaming or long hours in your computer. Remember, Zennies is here to protect your eyes from blue light glasses. This is one thing you want to be careful because studies have been shown if you are playing games or doing things very long term, and if you are just going out playing and playing and playing, it's simply not aware of not the damages what blue light does to your eyes. Remember, you better thank me now till then, and just be sure I was just here to get your back. And also, next and not least is Humble Bundle. I've been a Humble Bundle partner for years now, and I will tell you, Humble Bundle is awesome, and here is why you should look into Humble Bundle. If you're looking, to get good courses, books, or any discounted items, Humble Bundle is there. And also, you'll end up supporting me as a partner. You'll end up helping out a selected charity of your choice, and because Humble Bundle does great things to give out to communities in need or anything like that too. Just remember, you can use Humble Bundle for any items that you wish to use, and that is good because at least you'll be saving a little bit of money. Make sure to use the affiliate link down in the description below or the show notes down below. So next and not least is Tribe Signs. Tribe Signs. If you have not heard of Tribe Signs, have you guys? Nah, you have to. Try out Tribe Signs. What are you waiting for? Give a click on the Tribe Signs if you're looking for some good furniture at home. It's a good time to get some good pieces while you're at it. Check out some Tribe Signs. Right now, you will not regret it. And then I would say Anchor Power. If you're looking to get some good charging along for your travels or anything of that matter, check up on Anchor. Very much good choices. I definitely recommend it. And then last and not least, it is Web Hosting Pad. Web Hosting Pad. If you've not heard of Web Hosting Pad, have you guys? You should have heard it by now. Web Hosting Pad, I've used it before. And one thing I do like about Web Hosting Pad is the fact that at least if you're going to start up your website, click on the affiliate, because one thing for sure is that people are always making websites all the time for their businesses or for their blog or whatever. So that's something I definitely wanted to give this out to you is Web Hosting Pad. Web Hosting Pad is really good. It's I love the customer service on that website because in fact there's always people that are looking to help you out. If you're in the need of a bind, need some help, go ahead and check it out. You won't regret it at all too. So with that said, we're gonna go ahead and continue right to the show. As of right now, let's hit it and let's roll it, people. Now, I've wanted to go ahead and do these segments, I would say separately. And one of the things I can put out with this all this right here is, for one, I figured I could do a separate episode because there's just so much to talk about. Now, for me, at least, it's given me a reason to even go about talking about the Lightning Network. I mean, as well at this point, it's good to do it anyways because I will say that if you are looking into Bitcoin and your interest is Bitcoin right now, for those that have even looked into the price of Bitcoin. It's soared up to a new all-time high this week, which is 100 103,000 is so high at this point. And I've said before, I've said it again. I'm going to say it again now. I'm bullish. I'm 100% bullish about Bitcoin. And that is something that you can't ignore, the fact that things are going to continue to soar up and continue to go the way it is into this direction right now. And I'm just going to say it because when we are at a time that it's time to start learning, time to start getting things where you want to go, especially with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is where it's at, and forgive me for saying this, but for those of you plebs that have not gotten to the train before, which I would say you should have, and you should have done it. Besides, we've had a good 15 years, over 15 years of this now, and ever since then, I think a lot of people have they looked at this and shrugged it aside and said, "Nah, this would never ever happen. I think it's going to continue to dip." And those people that said that and continue to argue, I would say that it's hard to ignore this now when things are going at it. Now, let's get right onto what I've did some research, especially with the Lightning Network. And the Lightning Network is very, very unique. And one of the things I can say to y'all is the Lightning Network is very fascinating, and it's being used with a lot of Bitcoiners like myself. I like it, and one thing I can say with Lightning, it is very fast and it's very, very simple. So instead of sharing somebody a 34 character coded line to send them the information, you guys can actually send me satoshis, in the form of satoshis, so that way you can actually support the show and the podcast, especially with podcast 2.0 being as big right now. You can't ignore not going up and signing up for a Lightning wallet now. It doesn't matter where. Lightning will be really sweet right now, especially to hold some satoshis to your wallet too. Of course, have some stats separated. Of course, now if your wallet gets deleted, or for any reason that it's got out off the ether, then that's quite too bad, unfortunately. So you will have to go ahead and reset it too. Now, I will say that not to be a doomer or anything, you can still get good secure your BTC by many sorts of ways. Now, if you are signing up for a wallet, I would say the best thing I recommend to anybody is when you sign up and you have everything going, make sure do not write this down onto your notepad on your computer, because you will lose your crypto if you keep everything in a hard drive. Because let's say if the hard drive crashes and if you do not know your security phrase, well, that's tough luck and that's too bad. Because I would say write everything down by hand, because you will need to write everything down by hand. That is the fact. You got to have everything written down. I don't know why people don't do this, and I would say, in my defense, I was one that didn't get to write everything down, and I've said that I got into Bitcoin early, and when I did get into Bitcoin early, I didn't write down my 12 security phrase or 24-word security phrase, which my goodness, if you don't not write your passwords down, your security phrases down, you're basically tough out of luck, and you've lost everything. And that's why I tell everybody is have everything written down by hand, and do not forget to do that. So back to the Lightning Network is very fast, and that's why I like having to send and receive to people especially with that part, especially with crypto. Lightning Wallet is very very powerful in a way that at least you know where it is going, and so there's a lot of potential with that too. Now that's where I can say and defend Bitcoin because Bitcoin has had a good amount of years in, especially improving the network and get everything. Because I know today, if you were to send anything to people, um, things get very pricey, especially when you're sending BTC via the network, which it is very very expensive, especially with the mining fees. Yeah, the mining fees, the gas fees, all whatever fees. Because there's fees when you're sending crypto, when you're sending crypto to crypto to somebody's wallet. I don't know. I like the idea where Lightning, especially right now, it's definitely going to be a big thing as not just Bitcoin alone, but other cryptocurrencies will probably catch up with it. And the unique things about Lightning Wallet now and why it's becoming so popular, and I'll tell you why it's become so popular right now throughout the space because it's now such a new property now because Lightning is very much necessary. And let's say if you want to support your creator, and to me, the way I use a Lightning right now is I have it connected via a foundation. Fountain.app. So you guys can look up Fountain.app, which is a really ready available for iOS and Android. Now, one I can tell you is Fountain is very solid. I like it. You can connect your NOSTR account in it, and that way you can have it connect your foundation via Albi. That's one thing I like about at least about that network right there. Albi, I've actually used it for about one full month, but ever since I've been listening to podcast news and things I've been listening to for via podcast index, Adam Curry, aka also known as the Podfather, which he's very knowledgeable, very resourceful on this too. And last couple episodes of episode 203, this was early today before making this recording. Adam Curry is. I like the show and I like the information that he brings into the subject of podcasting 2.0 and the website he manages. I believe I don't know if it's him that he manages podcast index, but it's a very good site, especially if you guys want to throw in some satoshis. You guys can certainly can and help out the channel as well through that, which I think is very very awesome where things are going, and especially the power of the Lightning Network and the decentralization that we're seeing so far too. And I know a lot of us guys are very libertarian and guys are very much into the innovation of crypto, because I think innovation does help a lot when you're bringing up things, especially with this space with crypto. And I think that is the way we're definitely going to see crypto evolving. That's the way it is. And if you guys want to research on more on the Lightning Network, it's fairly not difficult at all. Anybody can do their research, and it's not bad. I would say go ahead and check it out if you guys have the time to do it. Because now we're gonna go ahead and switch gears now to NOSTR. And so now I want to get into NOSTR. Now the key features I wanted to point out and lay out with for everybody that's listening in NOSTR, and giving you the NOSTR. there's people that say NOSTR in America, but if you go and talk to, depends on who you talk to outside the U.S., they'll say NOSTR. And so NOSTR, NOSTR, which is short for Notes and Other Stuff Transmitted by Relays. So that's the acronym of what NOSTR is, which is a decentralized open protocol designed for secure and censorship resistant communication. It's often associated with social networking through its underlying design can be applied to other forms of information exchange. Key features of NOSTR, the decentralization, unlike traditional social media platforms, which rely on centralization servers, NOSTR uses a network of distributed relays to store and propagate messages. This makes it resistant to censorship and single points of failure. Public and private keys. Users interact with NOSTR using cryptic keys. A private key is used to sign messages, providing their authenticity, while a public key acts as the user's unique identifier. So the step right there is basically how the wallet started, especially with crypto wallets. So basically, it's pretty much the same logic. So, and then let's get on the relays. Relays are a lightweight servers that store and distribute messages. Users can choose which relays to publish to and which to read them from, offering flexibility and control. Simplicity. A NOSTR protocol is intentionally minimalistic, which I like that. That's super sweet. Making it easy to implement and extend. The simplicity also makes it accessible for developers to create diverse applications. Now, reading through 5. Censorship resistance. Since messages are signed by private keys and can be distributed across multiple relays, it is difficult to suppress or alter information. Use cases. Social media platforms, decentralized alternatives to platforms like Twitter, where users own their data. Private messaging, secure peer-to-peer communication without relying on centralized entities. Publishing a way to distribute uncensorable blog posts, news, or other content. Microtransactions. When combined with tools like Bitcoin's Lightning Network, NOSTR can enable tipping or payments. So that's a cool thing. And just like I've said about Lightning Network, and this is why I think Lightning Network and NOSTR is one key elements that's gonna work super well, especially with Web 3.0 and then podcasting 2.0. I mean, right now, and when it comes to content creators, especially with podcasting and podcasters like myself, and to give the example, I think NOSTR, first of all, as a social media person, I wouldn't say I'm a social media guy because I don't like social media at all. And I don't. When I was younger, I liked social media. I did like social media, right? And sure, it was cool, and it was a very different thing when I signed up on Twitter, and for a little bit I had Facebook. Didn't care to keep it, but when you notice one thing or the other, about how malicious social media can be, especially with Twitter. Twitter right now. It's come to a point that now Twitter, even though it's been purchased with Elon, how much of that can you trust, especially with the data it's been collecting? And I can't say that I hate how well, what the hell am I saying? I very much dislike how it's become at this point with Twitter and how much. I mean, it's not even useful information. Twitter has always been or Twitter or slash X, depends on who you call it nowadays or who you speak with too. It's just become a loaded heap of mess. It's just garbage on Twitter now. And you scroll down on Twitter, you're not getting the satisfaction, and you're not getting any value whatsoever with Twitterverse. Their Twitter space is really awful. I mean, nothing against anyone that's using it. I mean, I've used it too. I mean, for getting my information out and getting myself out there. Sure, not at all. But it's just a heap of crap. And now you've got a good amount of people that left Twitter to join Blue Skies. I can't say everybody. I can't speak for every user because they still want to keep their following. And I think the problem is now is if sure you got people have migrated to all these social media platforms and all these other micro blogging sites. Now it's come to a point that you do not know who you trust at this point. And it's a bit weird. It's a bit strange because one thing is that you got streamers, content creators are trying to find a better place, a better social media to get out themselves out there. And they feel that they're just in a bad position now as content creators that especially with how toxic all these social media companies are. I mean, don't get me started. It's not. It's just, even though yes, I blame the user base. I mean, also I blame the companies alone that are collecting our data without permission. I mean, imagine being you and it being yourself trying to get yourself out there. All that data is being collected. Now what? That's it. That's one thing I never liked about social media. Like, sure, I mean, when I started when I was younger, I've had Facebook, and I didn't get to do a lot of blogging back then. I mean, back then I remember I did posts and all that, but I couldn't consider myself as a great writer. No, I just don't think of that as well. And sure, I can speak up and get my points out there. I don't think it's the best thing. NOSTR in this case, I remember using primal.net, and in order to get into Primal and how to use NOSTR, I mean, it still runs as a social media a platform, Primal. One thing I think it's going to take time for people to jump into places like Primal, and there was another one that stuck out, and I don't remember the name. I think there we go. I think the name is Iris, IRIS. Now, those are decentralized platforms. Now, one good thing is that if you, let's say, if you do not like what the platform is doing on these decentralized platforms, then you got the liberty to get out and not having to stay there and be fed up with their BS. That's how I see that with social media. Is the problem is with when you're dealing with the users or these people over there hiding behind the screens. You know that there's a lot of very much a lot of garbage you see right there too. And I know there's gonna be a point of time that, especially with Blue Sky. I mean, Blue Sky has only been around for a little less than 2 years. Blue Sky, it looks great. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's sure you can put yourself into dark mode, light mode, and getting around Blue Sky is very easy. I'm not gonna deny that, but when you're going about in Blue Skies, you do not know if your data is being secured, or if you're gonna know that this is data that company alone is doing it intentionally well, and nobody else knows where things are going, because for all I know, they could even sell your data which I'm sure that's how many companies operate, because they are just data mining you, because that's how they are going about it. Because I'll tell you that nothing is free. Now, if you want to have things for free, of course you would have to pay. You pay these people without not without these companies mining your data without your consent, which is not a good thing. I mean, we cannot just go out and let these companies do whatever they want with our data. I mean, that's just awful. I mean, predatory practice right there too. No, no, 100% not. I don't want that. I really do not want them to data mine everything that what we do and say. Is awful. Of course not. We don't want that. But of course, you got that right to escape the the rabbit hole. It's what do you call it? The blue pill crap. It's time to get on. And to me, anyone that is coming in and listening, I think it would be a great time to study up on NOSTR, the Lightning Network, and how does NOSTR works. NOSTR, and I'm just gonna be quite transparent with NOSTR right here. Does it have its issues? Right now, yeah, it does. It's not like a huge issue compared to Twitter and all, but I'll tell you that the community is quite lively, and there's people that are quite savvy. I mean, how to run NOSTR. I mean, if you get the time to work on all that and make sure you know what how to work with the protocol or the relay. Excuse me, that relay right there. Those are something I would recommend if you're gonna use it to communicate one by one or with other people. I mean, this is a relay that's gonna definitely be a big game changer. Now, as far as mainstream adoption, I don't think so. I don't think it's gonna develop this fast, because NOSTR as a relay or protocol, however you want to put it, it's so new at this point that nobody understands NOSTR and how the NOSTR network works, and you can't just go ahead and get into NOSTR right away. Now, there are ways of how to get to NOSTR, and I will tell you that NOSTR is super easy to this point, and to start it out, and like how you get around to it. How this right there looks and seems confusing. Please tell me how to use NOSTR. And hey, who knows? Probably I'll probably make a clear condensed video of how NOSTR works. Which, I mean, one of these days, I'm not sure how that will work out, but NOSTR will be one of these communities that, as far as adoption, NOSTR will end up gaining attention. I believe, here how I see it, and how I believe that it's going to gain attention. It will not gain rapid attention, but gradually and moving forward, it's going to gain attention at a very slow rate. Now, NOSTR is going to definitely change everything what the internet has grown ever since. NOSTR is very it's going to be very huge, and this is something I would tell my audience is I recommend it to anybody. Just go and re-up NOSTR, and of course, when you sign up, make sure you write down your private keys, public keys, all that jazz, because you will definitely need to get around when you're working the back floor. And I think it's just very cool. We're having options now, a lot more options that we didn't had before. Now, there's the number one question I'm sure many of you are asking. Well, look, I do not know this stuff. How about if I just sign up to Blue Skies or Substack and go for alternatives like that? Well, you can. I will tell you that they are running in a very closed platform. I really don't know if they've opened up their API. Very honestly, because if you are a developer, um, of course you want to make sure that you want products to be open and transparent. Um, that's why I see with companies that they don't release their API. And now, if you are passionate about doing something different for the community, for the NOSTR community, I would say go ahead and check out NOSTR. It's definitely going to be a game changer now till then, because everybody is looking for developers out there that to improve the NOSTR network, and this is something that's going to be really big now till then. And the question is how many people are going to get into it. I think the type of people that are going to get involved with NOSTR, that NOSTR community alone, I would say it's going to be people that understands cryptography, and people will get on board. Because when you sign up with NOSTR, you have to make sure that you have a NOSTR address, and all these decentralized sites, they they want you to set up a NOSTR address. And how do you do it? Well, I can't really explain well how to set up a NOSTR account. You're just gonna have to look it up and sign one up for yourself, because I mean it's not difficult as it seems, but you just gotta read up on it. And I'm sure that there are ways of how to sign up with NOSTR. Now, I would say that if you want to get into noise, getting a NOSTR address and getting yourself a public and private address, I would have had recommended Albi. And then my take with Albi now, there's gonna be a paid service to Albi and ALBY. But the thing about Albi, I just even realized with the recent episode with Podcast Index, that that's a service that's going to end up discontinuing for freemium users. And I don't know though. I feel very conflicted now, because I just signed up with Albi recently, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm gonna have to find a way to get myself into get a different address over, because I believe with Albi there's a pay and free method, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, Albi makes it very very easy to jump in and get into other things. It's cool, but don't get me wrong, but it's just like, really, now I have to go ahead and switch into another service for podcasting 2.0 for value to value. That's something I will definitely get on with podcasting, with going through the value to value stuff. I think it's quite interesting where things are going, especially with that whole world of podcasting. Now, there are other ways you can get into create a NOSTR account, but in this episode, and for the sake of cutting time right there, I wouldn't be able to explain everything in one sitting, because you guys can go and do your research via Google or DuckDuckGo, whatever search engine you guys use, and just do that right there. Because there's a point that I see with everybody, that I think everybody will end up starting to use decentralization. Right now, everybody's just using centralized websites, as far as uploading videos, blogging, you name it. And there's a lot of things that a lot of people just don't understand that concept now, because people don't understand these decentralization, and people for those people, they want to take things easy and they don't want to go through the mental stress, which, I get it, but if you want to go full on in with decentralization, you got to put the work. And a lot of people don't get it. And when you try to explain to people, I say, hey man, I got into this and that side, and I will tell you one thing, and you try to speak to people and say, hey, this is really awesome, you should check it out. Which I do encourage people to, you guys to check it out and play with it, absolutely too. And my thing is though, you definitely have to learn how to communicate with people, and many people don't seem to understand that concept of decentralization and all these other social networks, because it just rallies your brain terribly, and the people do not like change. And I understand because, well, the one I could say, the one that's going to benefit NOSTR is people are that's creating content, like myself, like content creators. Now, since I'm a podcaster, that's going to be a big beneficiary to me as a content creator. Now, one thing with Fountain, Fountain.app, you can look at Fountain in your own time as well. I'll put the link down in the description so you guys can read more on Fountain. So Fountain, one thing I did look up on Fountain is if you're a musician, musicians can take advantage of the fact they can earn stats with their music. And that's a really cool thing, because I know a lot of artists now, a lot of artists are just, they've just had it with Spotify, especially with gatekeepers like that. And plus the pay is real shitty with Spotify. And that's why I question, like, how do artists today survive? And I'll tell you how. It's not the music. It's not. It's the touring and it's the merchandising. And that's real tough for artists. And if you want to get your music out there, you got to bust your ass. And you got to tour and get the word of mouth out there. And even if it means opening it up for a main artist. That's one thing I can say. It's going to be very unpopular for people. But you've got to bust your ass if you want to be a musician or an artist. And like for me, for example, as a podcaster, my responsibility, if I want my podcast to go out, it isn't sponsorships. No, I depend on all you guys listeners out there is to go ahead and support the channel and listen to my podcast. And hopefully what I say goes into your guys' skull, and hopefully this is pretty valuable to you all. I hope you guys know what I'm saying. But, and the truth be told is that if you're going to make it out right there, you definitely have to let people know about your material. And from word to mouth, let everybody know what it is. And, that's one problem, is that people do not know how to get themselves out there. And that's just an issue, is that for most artists, most podcasters, they got this concept of not getting their material out, or and it's all about marketing, really. If you look about it right there, you got to tell people about your content. As a content creator, you can't just rely on streams. I mean, streams is good. Now it's good for podcasters. But it's not going to be good for musicians, because the more you stream, let people stream your music, you're only getting just chump change as an artist. I mean, that's nothing. And that's the way, especially with the world today, especially when you're creating content, especially with centralized video platforms like the most famous one out there. Everyone knows what YouTube is. YouTube is a very big platform, and you got content creators still posting stuff on YouTube, and so do I. But am I gonna be reliant on the whole YouTube machine and still continue to be part of the Google machine? I don't know if I wanted to, but if you gotta make it out and survive on dollars, you've gotta survive on it too and pay bills because I will tell you that utility companies don't won't let you pay via Bitcoin, which yeah, it's always been like that. But let's face it too. I mean, that's a hard a job to go through and get the word of mouth out there for people, and it's not for everybody. I will tell you right there, but content creation isn't for everybody. But I'll tell you right here is you can still be a decent content creator, and some people will like you and others don't. And I will tell you that I've had my fair shares of dislikes on YouTube because people, who knows what it is, like people don't like the content or the fact that maybe my content is too long, way too long for enough for people that can't seem to stay onto my channel. Like even before recording, early this morning, I looked up my statistics on YouTube, and I'm not even sure because maybe people just don't like the content, and who knows? Probably the short attention span. It's just not keeping people around to watch my videos. And who knows? I probably should start doing some short clips on segments that should be shorted out. And that's one thing I see right there is like, it's also hard to be a YouTuber. And now if you are constantly posting videos, creating videos all the time, then you know what? Good to go. I mean, you're doing something well. And I will say that I'm not like a very famous content creator on YouTube, but I'm trying to start back on streaming to see how things work out and do it from here too. Because there's tons of gamers out there that are looking that are still in these centralized platforms like Twitch, YouTube, Kick, and I don't know about the gaming scene in Rumble, but that's something I've noticed is that with places like Rumble, I mean Rumble has given an alternative to YouTube because people have just had enough with the decentralization, the shadow banning, and all that. Well, you guys get the point. If you've been following the internet for some time, you guys understand it. And NOSTR is one thing I have to say that it's going to be very much of a game changer for people. Depends on how people see NOSTR in the NOSTR community. I don't know if I can call it a community, but it's more of a utility. The NOSTR protocol is going to be something that's going to be a game changer for people. I mean, decentralization is a must, and a lot of folks like myself and others and other content creators are content creators because we enjoy speaking and doing things like that. And there's people that have tons of other hobbies. I mean, I like tech, but I like other stuff like food and all that stuff too. Food, travel. You guys get the gist of it. But NOSTR is one that it's going to definitely change the landscape, but not this quickly. And because I would say that I would give it about 4, 5, or 6 years down the road for people to pick up NOSTR, because NOSTR is so fresh and it's not getting the exposure what it needs at this very point in time. And you guys can go ahead and help your fellow Bitcoiners, orange pillars, content creators, musicians on Fountain app. So which the app, like I've said, you can download via iOS and Android, and so that's where you can go from that point, and just support your content creators right there too, and help them earn some stacks through listens and all that too. Because to me, I'm still learning. I'm still trying to get myself to something fresh, and we all do need something fresh, something that's going to be different from the big players, those centralized gatekeepers. Of even though whether you may not want it, this is something you will need to use if you are desperately trying to get yourself out there for as yourselves as content creators. You will need to understand what NOSTR is, and having the NOSTR key will get you access to different platforms. And right now, when I've gone through the NOSTR directories, they've got like their own set of search engine. The way they call it was called Noogle, which is funny, like a knockoff of Google. And then you got Flare, which is an alternative to YouTube. I mean, I've looked up on Flare. I think Flare is it's different. It's actually very lightweight compared to YouTube. If you look at YouTube now, it does become a huge resource hog with YouTube. I mean, YouTube is not what it is back when I grew up with back then too. But let's face it though. I mean, I do currently like the current state of Web 3.0. Web 3.0 has changed a lot, especially the user interface, and made things a lot more friendlier. And that's one thing I can say is that YouTube still be the dominant platform right now, even though if you got Flare, the website, I think it's flare.net. I'm not sure what it is, but I'll have to put down the link down below so you guys can check it out. But yeah, check out these platforms, because you've got other things happening right now in that ecosystem, in that space. That for me, I'm still thriving. I still want to check out other things that's happening in the now, because I'm in the person that type of person in me that is thriving for something fresh to come out in that scene. And I know that a lot of people are just not going to get used to jumping place to place to place, because it's so scary. And that's just the bottom line. I mean, a lot of people do not want to jump into things that they do not know of. And I'll make it easy for all of you guys. If you want to get your hands dirty, you got to manually do it and give things a chance. I do think it's going to take a lot of time and getting things out there for people, because that's one thing I think that's going to change once people find out about NOSTR. But like I've said, I'm glad I'm putting this out there, because listeners like you can understand what NOSTR is, and that way you can jump into it if you wish to use content or use things like that too. But it's always good to learn something fresh for all of you guys out there that's just discovering NOSTR and doing something different. And one I can tell you is with Google, and like I've mentioned about Noogle, the alternatives, but right now you got all these search engines popping up left and right now, alternatives over to Google. Now, I'll tell you that Google is still the behemoth of the engine. It's basically the top juggernaut that cannot be destroyed. Now, I'm not sure if Google as a company will end up going belly up. You guys will probably say one thing is like, oh, Google will never die, and you guys will never know if that will be the case for within 2 years. I don't think 2 years will ever happen, because Google has so much power and so much influence on the internet right now. Because if you look at what's generating or what's helping Google, you have to understand is that, first of all, Google, they are getting money through data mining and advertisement. I mean, it's something that's you're going through Google all the time, and if you guys are still using Google, I don't know what have become of you and why you're still staying in Google land. And because when I found out how much data those search directories like Google collects, and without your consent, it's crazy. But one thing is, if you want to still stay with your phone, like for instance, like the app stores, like the Play Store and and iOS. I mean, those are big markets for for apps. I mean, you're not going to see that on open sources like F-Droid. Not at all. Maybe in certain categories, you'll probably end up finding good applications um, going towards to the F-Droid side, but that's not going to be for everybody. Now, if you guys know how to use, uh, like open source or how to publish your software, uh, or software application through F-Droid, then you know how to do it. I think it's going to take a lot of time for people to switch over to platforms, and even before the recording, I looked over at alternatives to Google, and there's plenty of that out there. You just gotta put the research on where to go. And today I was looking on a search engine. It was called Moose. Let me look it up right there too. But it was cool. I liked the layout and the look of that right there, because, and I was going through like that search engine. In fact, if I find the search engine, I'll have to put in the show notes below. It's so clean. It's just amazing. And so, okay, now I did find out the search engine is called Mojeek, 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 which in this right here it says looking for different results, value your right to privacy, trying to escape big tech. Basically, the big three concepts that all of us are looking right there. And so it's amazing. Mojeek is something that reminds me of so much of the early days of Google, and something that doesn't hit you with, you know, advertisements, which, in my opinion, if you want to ask me about advertisements, they're quite predatory. And even though there's some advertisements, they do well, especially the curate of what your interests are. I still don't care for advertisements. That's just me. I don't care. But Mojeek is a growing independent search engine which does not track you. Very, very simple. That's what I like about Mojeek, which is very different compared to Google. I think there's some dog watches now. They're starting to talk about down about DuckDuckGo. I mean, DuckDuckGo is starting to get looked up on right now. So I'm not sure about DuckDuckGo's story, but I know that Google is just something that it's going to be a long away from the past. And most of these, I'll tell you one thing is that when I was listening to podcasts on Fountain, and a lot of these people, they've talked about how Google was so gray around the 2000s, early 90s, or not early 90s. What am I saying? Like late 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, and many people looked up Google for their search and looked up things right through there too. And it used to be so reliable. And I remember back in the day, like, I was a big Google boy, and I figured Google would have been my place to work for. And now, if you look at like the devs that worked in the search engine, even back in those days, they're not even around Google anymore. And I'll tell you, spot on, that you got all these new people, and you're just not going through the ways of how to better Google, and they aren't doing anything at this point. Now, if you are doing something like Mojeek, so Mojeek is that's why I say you look up other search engines and you just do your research on how to do it. And here it says, why is Mojeek different? Is Mojeek just another Bing or Google syndicate? No. Mojeek's web search results are 100% independent. They come from our crawler, Mojeek Bot, which index of the web, and are ordered using our own ranking algorithms. So That right there, you guys can look up Mujik. That website, I'll have it down in the descriptions. It's while it is clean, like I've said, it's not perfect. So you've got a lot of the other search engines are starting to pop out left and right. The question I think it comes down to, I mean, a lot of you users may know or are gonna want to know is that are these alternatives gonna be trusted? Let's say if they were to do the same stuff what Google has done, do you think that will ever come about it? The same way with Mojik or any of these alternative platforms. Well, we don't know if they were to break a crime or do anything malicious to your data. Nobody knows because I will say is that you cannot trust any single search engine because let's say if they were to do something very badly attended for your data, I'm not sure if I wouldn't trust them 100% because we don't know the people behind that search engine at all. Now, you know what? You can come and take this and with face value and do what you want with it. Now, it's one thing or the other. Now, when it comes to search, I always like reliability and something that will work for me uh, all the way. Because I wouldn't want to go over, let's say, Google or Bing.com. Bing, which I don't care for any of these big tech companies. I mean, biggest part of Microsoft, Google is, well, everyone knows Google. And so they're going to do what they googly normally want to do is collect your stuff and to continue to be evil. Let's break it down. That's just way it is with these companies because they don't give a crap. And if you use your phone through iOS or your Android phone, whatever model you're going to be using, that's one thing I'll tell you is that they're going to continue to cut things without your consent, and the only way you probably end up knowing is probably not give them permission is take stuff out off of their from your account, what things that you want them to save and what things that you don't want them to save. So that's something you've got to really much consider when you're using platforms like that. Like, I don't like the idea when these companies collect data, but I don't like them to collect data in a very massive way where all these companies want to do is take things without consent. Like, now, let's say if they were to using the data to improve their products, I could probably understand that in that way too. It's something that's a little weird, and when you're talking about these companies, you don't know if they're going to end up doing the right thing. I mean, nobody does, but it always helps when you do get transparency, and transparency is always good because I want companies to be 100% transparent for most of the time because you look at it. That's why I think a lot of people, I mean, I can't say all people, there's a lot of people now that are starting to, trust Google less and less. And I know that YouTube is probably going to be the one that's going to make them most amount of money. Because I know years ago they've had their fair share of issues around 2015, 2016. That's one thing I can tell you is that, man, it's going to be very hard for a lot of people to get around with this this whole big tech issue and data mining. I'm not sure, but things are starting to become very, very interesting as time go on. Not quite sure, but this is something I'm definitely going to put this on my list about, especially about getting to alternatives and different things like that when it comes down to it too. Because I mean, with the amount of money and the power of and influence with Google, now what I was hearing now, what I've heard from the grapevine on this podcast, Google, from what I understand, is that Google, I believe, paid Apple to have Google as their default, and that's always been the default for all browsers. For when you're searching things, that's always been the default, 100%. And I've noticed that when you pop up Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, or Safari, that's always comes as a default for a lot of people. So it's that's the way it is right there. So when it comes to with all these browsers right there, especially excuse me, yeah, Firefox. However, I remember I've always set Google as the default. That was many years ago when I started to continue using Firefox, and Google search was always my default search. Always, I didn't use Yahoo. I didn't use Microsoft MSN search engine. No, Google was always the top for me too, and that's why I see that Google may not die out within a couple weeks, because they are still going to generate money and ad revenue and so on and so forth too, in getting their products out there. I do think it's going to take us several years till things start to go sideways for them. That's how I see it. But time will only tell when Google can be pretty much done. So that said, I think it's going to be very interesting where things will take for a turn with Google. I mean, Google is not the Google that I once knew 26 years ago. I mean, we're now living such different times now. I mean, why would I want to go out and start using a platform like that? It just doesn't make sense anymore to use a platform, not a platform, but a search engine of all things that I really want to use right now. I would say if there's things I cannot search for on other websites, let's say if I can't find on DuckDuckGo or Bing, and then I can go back with Google, and only for rare incidents that I go to Google for something decent. And like for me, I wouldn't even use Google for shopping. Like Google Shopping, I did use it for quite a bit back in the day, but nowadays not so much, because it's so screwed up, especially when you're searching on Google Shopping. It doesn't give you correct results now, and it's like, what's going on with Google? It's just so bad. And plus, if you don't want your face to be everywhere, let's say if you get scrutinized or if you're a public figure, well, good luck with that. And I know that Google has made it easy where you can take your you can take your information out, but you have to go through the web administrator first. That way you don't have to get to see anything embarrassing through Google search engine, because you can look it up via Google. Thing is, though, everything is being publicly recorded via the Google search engine. It's no surprise, because you got the public database, especially with homes and all that. Look, I'm sure public directories are needed in specific cases, but to me, Google is not your friend. Let's face it. I think in the next few years, Google will die out. It's going to be a shell of its former self, and nobody's going to say, "Oh, I want to work for Google." Da, da, da. Google will be a fun place to work. No, it's not. No, it's not. Let's face it. If I were to have worked anywhere else, it will be another small company, small to medium sized company, growing, and somebody out there will take over the search landscape, or if not, probably AI search will do it a better job. Like for me, I use OpenAI for my results, and I'll tell you that the results with OpenAI, does a pretty good job. OpenAI is it's always improving every day, and I've said before that Google is behind. Um, Even like I remember watching advertisements for Google Gemini AI. Google, Gemini is terrible. It's not 100% great, and I know that Google did started to do Assistant, but then it went from Google being from Google Assistant now to Google Gemini. Just a whole rebranding. So it's just not a point that I'll ever jump in that gun now and say it's gonna be it'll be a great idea to work for Google. Yeah, that's something I would have to think twice now if I ever decided to want to work for Google and work for these ideologues. But whatever. But coming to that point into this recording, I mean, right now I really can't see myself joining in the ranks of Google at this point after I've been, exposed with so much crap about, I mean, a lot of negative things towards Google recently. And when I say recently, I say a couple of years now where Google's position is at. I mean, heck, I don't like to say anything negative, but I think Google at this point definitely deserves the negativity where they put themselves in. And to me, that's still unforgivable. But, what can I say? It is what it is. Google is done. I will definitely give them at least about 5 years or 7 years at the most if more people end up switching over to new search engines. But like I said, it's going to be time, or it'll come with time when people start to notice and start switching out, because if they don't get the search results in a very accurate way, and Google can't seem to learn their mistakes and fix it and become, or I would say if Google becomes more privacy focused, that would redeem them. But what's going to redeem them further? I don't know, and I can't really say much about this at this point. And since now I'm done talking about Google of itself, I mean, I want to add other thoughts to the since now new things have just come up in my head already, and I definitely want to say that noise, like I've mentioned about NOSTR. NOSTR is one of those what do you call it, protocols that, like here's what I'm just gonna put it. It's just definitely gonna change the landscape once a lot of people know about it. Right now, only about a few 100,000 people know about this, but, and I will tell anyone listening right now, anyone that's probably a newbie, just like I mentioned before, like, first of all, you do not have to wait till things become mainstream. I've said before, you can go ahead and get your hands all dirty, find out how to set up NOSTR. I'm sure there are tons of information on how to set up a NOSTR, how to set up a NOSTR protocol, and NOSTR is something you can actually start off at any time, without any permissions, and that's a cool thing because you don't have to wait till things become mainstream. Because once you bring stuff out and let your family, friends, colleagues, or whoever you can let someone know about this, because that'll be a point where they will end up discovering fresh, brand new platforms in a very new way. Because right now, the way of the current social media landscape, while you got tons of different social media platforms out there, you see a lot of those social medias are very centralized as far as open source, and as far as their code that's being out there to the public, and having to be transparent to consumers, because look, you're basically a product to them. I mean, first and foremost, number one is, even though Twitter has its own thing, especially with um, premiums, and like, let's say if you want to have a check mark uh, right next to your name, you have to pay about what, $8 a month, or whatever it costs per year. There's a cost to it, and to me, the one thing I can tell you is that I wouldn't I wouldn't even want to put money onto a service. And sure, look, every every website has to run, um, has to pay their bills, especially with maintenance costs, and everything has a cost when it comes down to it at the end of the day. And uh, with these relays and these protocols, and they've got to pay up somehow. Now, I think one thing I can say will change, and of course, I'm sure there are people that are not everybody's into crypto, but imagine if they gave people a way that you could pay through satoshis, and you could just use any satoshi wallet right from your phone and just pay it right via the satoshi. I mean, how cool is that? And I've already seen options now. Like when I've gone through setting my own NOSTR address, you could just have the option to have your own address and just pay it right there. It's a very awesome option to have. I don't understand why people are getting the concept of NOSTR, and NOSTR is something you can't ignore. Like, look, sure, there is Twitter/X, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and so many social medias out there. I mean, it's truly incredible how much that there's so many platforms out there, but then you realize you got centralization forms of these platforms. And like, for instance, like, I remember when YouTube had so many of its issues, especially when shadow banning around 2016, and people, if you were affected by YouTube's algorithms, and if you're a content creator currently and listening to this podcast, all of you guys know what I'm talking about. And that's something I will tell you is this isn't something I will let this slide, because if you are creating content and you're putting yourself out there, and people like to mix influencer and content creation. First of all, I don't think it's the same thing when it comes to it too, which I would definitely cold-heartedly disagree, because I think when you bring up the word influencer by any sentence, basically you're just talking about like the IRL streamers / people are just going out in the streets for clout, creating nothing with no value. And now if you are going out there creating something with value, you are doing something very cool and unique with your content, and not having to piss the crap out of locals out there too. And to me, if you're creating awesome content, it doesn't matter what kind of content you're creating, whether it's cooking, um, doing presentations online, or doing something experimental, or writing code that you want to share out to the world, whatever too. I mean, Noyster is going to have a place for everybody once more people thrive to understand this too, because it's an awesome thing. It's going to be a very, very awesome thing when you find more decentralized methods, because we definitely need more of that too, and no more decentralization nonsense, and where people have to get through a gatekeeper. And And also I missed. This is one thing I can say is I missed this point before, and thinking about it now, and why I dislike gatekeepers in social media is because, for one, if you're putting your post out there, first of all, you don't have to gatekeep your ability to not share. And I remember this was, I would say, about a few months ago, and this is now like Elon Musk era, where now, since he owns Twitter/X now, and what I could tell you with Twitter is that, first of all, there are certain links you cannot share because they officially now lay out to everybody is that we can you they will ban certain links. And one thing I can tell you is I do not agree with excuse me, like, I do not agree about having to get someone's link censored at all. And many of this do not understand that, for one, if you're gonna put your business out there, and let's say if you're a influencer or influencer slash affiliate, um, and let's say, for instance, that if you're trying to promote a product that you enjoy, you want to spread it out there, or a third party link. Now, and the reason I also, one of the things, the reason is that Twitter does what it seems to is happening is now is that when people starts to leave a platform like Twitter now, and my biggest take, though, this is not a fact, but this is just how I'm just viewing this critically, and I don't know how 100% true it is, but from what I hear from other parts is that it could be that Twitter X, whatever you call it now, um, they're probably losing a lot of the user base because they're sharing links from other social media platforms, or they're trying to prevent people from sharing their other people from sharing their competitors' links, which is still not cool. Like, for instance, I remember somebody shared what Blue Skies or some other third party or competitor link, and I believe that's what's happening now. And that's why I feel that when you bring a protocol or use protocols like NOSTR, that will set a new precedence of all what is going on right now too, because the landscape definitely needs to change, especially the online landscape. That's where things have to change. I mean, we all have to. All have to at some point. Because if you are creating content, if you're like me, posting stuff and getting material out, you know that this is a much of a need. Because right now, how do we communicate to people right now? Well, let's see. For one, the majority of the time we communicate through online for most part, and we communicate. I would say now 100%, but we definitely communicate majority of our time. I would say about 60-70% is via social media. I mean, I do, but nowadays it isn't much. I don't do much microblogging. Now, if you're talking about other forms of platforms, I would say I do post regularly now on like Substack. I post like short notes and then long form notes, which is like what a form of newsletter. So I like Substack. I mean, sure, it's centralized, but I actually happen to like the site because it's just a clean interface, and it gives me an option to post without any character limits. Then the other part I like about it is the long form posts, where if I want to share my thoughts and my inner, my inner take of what's happening, I share it in the form of a text through newsletters and give my insights about what's going on in this industry and that, and just other opinions I have in mind in general. So that's the reason why I started a newsletter via Substack and have my podcast hosted via Substack RSS. So and that's where I come along and let you know about value for value, and that's awesome. Now, if you definitely want to share me via Satoshis, I'll definitely have the Lightning wallet down below the show notes right here for today, and you guys can share and help me out. That way, it supports the channel, and let me know. That would be really, really cool if you do decide to help me out, because again, everything is helpful, because I definitely want to spread the word out too. Because like recently, I just signed up over to Moon.fm, and I've just checked of how many podcasting applications there are right now, and oh my gosh, and there's so many value for value podcasts right now. It's incredible. Um, I mean, Captivate. And I've been hearing about Captivate for a while now, and only because the exposure. This whole news came to me because of Podcast Index by David Jones and Adam Curry, the Podfather himself. That's mentioned about this too. So that's why I'm doing podcasting, because it's just a not just a form of therapy, but a form of trying to get my thoughts about the world as a futurist and tech and where things are evolving. And to me, it's not just about everyday life, but where things are going. Because I talk to people online, and I definitely enjoy having good conversations about where things are evolving now, from now in downward to the near future, where things are heading. Because, like I've said, it's no joke if you decide not to use AI. And you know what? And I will admit, though, I use AI artwork, and I know people will hate me for this and say that, oh, how dare you use AI artwork. Well, guess what? I don't care, because why would I go out and start spending money on an artist online, like 30, 50, $70 for their artwork, and things are getting so expensive too. Now, if you guys want to spend money for to somebody out there, suit yourselves, right? I don't, and I know a lot of people are gonna throw shade on me and say that how dare you do that, because AI is destroying artists to make a living out there. Well, that's going to be way too bad, because I mean the problem is that if you're an artist, the problem is artists are always going to be struggling, and if you want to be a good artist, you have to promote yourself out there. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And don't get me wrong, I like the enthusiasm. I like their drive and how they can spread themselves out there. But if you think about it, though, it's a good thing, because at least it's gonna help content creators and makes things much more easy, and keeps more money into their pockets. And that's how I see it too. And as a free market guy, and someone that is big into innovation, this is where it is going. Believe it or not. So I like where things are currently at. And sure, if you were to tell me about stuff like this about 20 years ago, when AI wasn't like as developed, I would have believed so. It's like I would have said, it's like, yeah, it's too early, but I know it'll come up at some point in the future. But now things are accelerating so fast, is that it's hard to keep up with all the information that's out there involving AI news and things like that. And that's where I just want to extend upon this too. And it wouldn't surprise me if a protocol like NOSTR decided, well, one day they're gonna go ahead and start expanding into the realms of AI and learning algorithms. That at some point that's gonna probably learn and start to create algorithms based upon your interests and upon your likes too. So I don't know, and way things are going, I'm happy to say that yeah, let's let's continue to evolve with the times and not stay fearful of what's going to happen. I mean, as much as you want to go out and become very fearful, look, you're. I don't think as a person myself, I'm going to say this is that you do not understand the future, and you are just set in your ways, especially when it comes to that too. Look, if you want to pay for somebody to do artwork, go ahead, suit yourself. I actually know someone that spends money on artwork and have somebody do their VTubing art, but I'm not a VTuber myself, so I don't. What's that for me? I like where as a content creator myself, I like to take control of things and have things created done by me through text and write what you write things down, and that way those things will come to life. And that's one of the coolest thing I like is that whenever I want to, let's say for example, I want a new logo for my podcast, that would be incredible where I can start telling AI to create a brand new podcast logo or new banner, and that way I'm not having to pay money for an artist because artists tend to be very expensive, especially with rates, because rates can be so expensive, and a lot of people do not understand that as well. It's awful, and I've been noticing about. I wanted to switch up to a different subject a little bit. So instead of just talking about NOSTR, AI learning machines, and now because since now we're talking about AI, or machine learning right now. Now I notice in this current trend right now, like for me, very honestly, um, learning. I don't think it's all bad to say that learning machines are all that bad at all, because that can be used to develop brand new, fresh ideas. I mean, those ideas comes from collecting data. Now, I don't think that that collecting in not in a massive scale, but maybe in a singular scale to use it for to build your apps, then I can see a reason for that too. Because you look at where machine learning machine learning is all about basically. Um, now it's not all bad news for machines to learn about your patterns. Like for instance, I mean recently for the last couple of months, I would say with a little bit of help with somebody on the internet, I did pay for lessons for a human tutor for Spanish, and I did and then a little bit on the side I've been catching up with a little bit of German, which it's a difficult language, but I'm I've been catching up with German because I know that there's going to be opportunities, someone like myself to have German pretty useful if I want to decide if one day I want to work in an industry, then I can use the German language because I know Germany they're always hiring new developers and all that. So the developers are um, are always going to be needed, and AI. That's where I'm saying like AI is very useful because any if you're going to learn anything, I think AI jobs are going to be the way to go, and then if you wanted to start a company based off of AI, that's really cool. Now back to the subject about language. Yeah, language learning. Instead of just like because actually, what was I going with this too? Oh yeah, that's right. So, I've been learning a little bit of Spanish and German, and and also one thing I've noticed, and there was a podcast that talked about this subject, and there was a host that I would say that he was very much spot on the ball, where he goes out and say that imagine all the lessons that you do when you're taking Spanish classes, and the even though can be useful to have a tutor in a human tutor 101, and that's all good and dandy, but that can be very costly. And that right there, let's say if you need to learn Spanish, probably it will be smart enough later down the road where you may not always need a human being around you. And look at that too. And you sure you'll probably want to use Spanish to interact with other humans that probably speaks only Spanish, or someone that is just bilingual. Which I will tell you right there, that would be straight up cool. If I ever, let's say if I decided I wanted to improve French again, and which I know I want to, but imagine AI making things a lot easier for that to happen. And in a podcast, when it comes to writing code, like, and this is something I was listening to early morning, early this morning, and what the guests were talking about was that there was a time where back in the 2000s, I mean, while code was awesome to learn, and it was a good take, but the thing is though, you've had to go and sit down, um, work on the code, and learning how to write code can be quite tense, and there's a lot of thinking going on, a lot of problem solving, having to go through coding. Now, it's nice. It's nice if you can have a sidekick where it can help you run on the background. If you need some assistance on writing, I think AI can set a purpose where you can have AI help you with certain things, especially with web building. Which in AI's defense, that would be great. You know, you don't have to struggle and punch in so much characters, and I think that's going to be much easier for devs, the developers, to understand that not all of AI is going to be all doomsday, because this is the point that we do need to embrace new tech. And I know there's going to be people that may not like what I'm going to have to say, but it is going to be the truth. I mean, if you're not going to embrace it, you're going to fall behind the times. And if you want us to go and continue learning the same old crap that you've been learning since 20 years ago, and follow off the traditions of where people have taught you that you stick to the books, those books are not going to be useful later on, because I mean, there's going to be a point that you will need to learn AI for, let's say, for new jobs, because there's going to be jobs out there they're going to end up using AI in so many fields out there. So let's face it, it's coming. And to put the conclusion right there, I would say with the future, I don't think the future is going to look as bleak as many people will take it, because I don't think so. I think there's going to be a fun point where things needs to be disrupted, and I like disruption. And there was a time I remember working in the back room at a local retail, I would say one of the retail stores over at TJX. I remember a former coworker I used to work with. He works in the truck industry, and that right there, I think like I've said, it'll take over so many sectors. Hell, I know people say that truck driving is a job. Then what I hear from so many people is that there are so many truck drivers that have been doing truck drive for years. They dread having to be on the road a lot, so many hours. And that's one thing I don't know why, but there sure there's companies that are always going to need deliveries. Nothing wrong with that too, because people do need to make a profit, make money. I think it'll work out if you got AI running trucks automatically. Because I mean, imagine if you own the company and you had AI running and doing all the deliveries, all the routes for you from point A to point B. That is going to be the easiest part of doing that too. And what I said, very with with very much irony and very much a little sarcastic, but I went ahead and say it because I said in the most literal way, so I can't wait for AI to take over the trucking business. Hell, let's do that. And I know people are saying, "Oh, how we're gonna find jobs?" Oh, hell, why the hell do you need to be a trucker? I mean, right now, if you are driving, you are screwed. I mean, they are not going to pay much. Imagine if you owned a company where automation is there and you've owned about I don't know, like 18 semis, and you could have 18 semis do the work for you automatically without any errors, and you don't have to be on the road being so exhausted that you may end up falling asleep behind the wheel. Yeah, that is the truth right there. So, and there's times where truck drivers do end up getting into accidents, and that's has happened before. And out on the road when you're driving in the U.S. roads, it's pretty awful. But so that's just my 2 cents right there. I'm very enthusiastic about it. Let me know your take, because I know that I definitely know that not the future's not gonna be all bleak what everybody says, and you just gotta ignore these people because to me, I will tell you that if you were to talk to me about 2 years ago, I would have said things would have looked so much bleak and we have no jobs. But who cares? Those jobs that we currently have will be obsoleted. Believe me when I say so. But there are going to be new jobs out there, and you best bet your ass that I will be very happy if I, let's say, owned a automated trucking business to do my routes for me automatically instead of having to go out on the road, miss my family about every 2 weeks, don't get to see them as often as I want to. That would be really fantastic. So anyways, my 2 cents there. So guys, if you want to go ahead and check out my podcast, I'm going to leave the link below on Foundation, Fountain app, and all the podcasting apps. I'll put down the link below on episodes.fm. Basically, I'm everywhere, so you guys can check me out. So with that said, this is your guy, leonlagrey, signing out and heading out right now. So thank you for listening to me. Thank you for supporting me. And thank you for all you people for taking the time and day to check me out. So anyways, off I go. Enjoy your day. I am coming to exit Sunday and entering a brand new week. And this is a brand new podcast for the new month. So all that said, adios. I'm out of here. Bye for now.